Guys, powder foundation day. I'm going to show you the best ways to apply it, the easiest ways to apply it, how to apply it for all skin types, all that jazz. So my skin type is balanced to dry. A lot of people think powder foundations would not work on balanced to dry skin, but they do. It's just all about skin prep. So before I get started, hop over on my IG saved highlights and you'll find my skin prep. It's what I do every single day. Just hop over there. It's a few back, but you'll see it. It's just under skin prep. If you have oily skin or combination skin, just go ahead and do your normal skin prep. You might want to just kind of focus a little extra hydration. I'm not saying go get a face oil. Just maybe a little bit more serum on the outer perimeter. Just don't put it through the center if you're combination to oily. If you are extremely dry, if you have dry patches around your nose or on your cheeks, this one right here is the one you want. This is the Glow Recipe Watermelon Glow Niacinamide Dewdrops. These are amazing. We're gonna talk primers. So if you are oily or combination, I recommend a mattifying primer only through the center. And with powder foundations, they're gonna cling to things that are too wet. So if you put it on, which we're gonna do, I'm gonna show you because I'm here to help. This one's still my favorite. It's so thin. It mattifies, but it never makes makeup skip. It doesn't make makeup cling to it. It's very, very smooth. I also want to remind you, when you put on your primer, give your primer at least 3 minutes. I know that seems like a very long time, but it takes a long time for it to kind of dry down and sink into the skin and do its job. So give it 3 minutes. So this is one of my favorite mattifying primers. Even though I'm balanced to dry, I just love the way makeup sits through the center of my face when I have this on. Let me find my brush. It ran away. I'm just gonna pick this up with my brush, and I'm using this tiny little brush because I don't want this primer to wind up underneath my eyes. I don't want it to go over here. Again, skip this primer if you are dry or have dry patches. I'm going to show you a primer that I like for dry skin. But for right now, this is where I focus it. And then once I have it placed, if I need to kind of check, I'll tap and see where we're at. That feels about right. I'm just going to kind of continue through here. I also like this particular primer because I live in a very humid, it's basically walking around in a swimming pool outside. I live in a very humid climate. I just feel like it really helps the makeup not become shiny. Even though I'm not oily, the humidity and the heat, they will make me shiny. It's just what happens. So this one right here, it's been my fave for a very long time. And even if you are extremely oily, this one is so great. I'm gonna show you one more primer, and this is for extreme oiliness. And I would only use this one for spot treatment. I would even do more of a spot treatment and really just focus it where I get oily or you get oily. This is the Makeup Forever Shine Control. This one's heavy duty. I'm not even going to put it on because it's so heavy duty and I will not need it for this powder foundation. But if you still find that your oil is coming through your powder foundation, this is it. But you will only have to use, I'm talking if you are extremely oily, you will only have to use that much. And I'm going to go ahead and put that on my eyebrows because my eyebrows, and that's all I used from it. When I went in here, I only used that tiny little amount, but I always feel like right above my eyebrow gets shiny, so we'll just pop it there. We're moving on to balanced to dry and even combination skin. If you're combination skin, you can use this on the outer perimeter. Balanced to dry, this e.l.f. mint melt cooling primer is just delicious. It's so delicious. So it's going to give your skin that nice bounce, that nice tacky feeling. It's going to be a very even tacky, so the makeup will not skip on it, but I am going to apply this to the outer perimeter and I'll show you. So we're going to grab a brush. This is the Anissa Beauty All Over Care brush. I'm going to do 1 pump of the Mint Melt Primer, and I'm just going to start to apply this on my cheekbones, just a little bit underneath my eye, not too far underneath my eye. The complete outer perimeter. What this is going to do is once it dries down, it gives your skin this nice tacky feeling. And the powder foundation just really glides over it. So as long as it's evenly applied, you're not going to have your powder foundation skip. My skin feels so bouncy. I love it. Also, we're still drying down. Let it dry down. That is key. It's so crucial. All right, so we're getting to the finish line here. So far, my favorites are the Makeup Revolution one. This one is a little bit lighter coverage, a little more luminous. And then the Beauty Creations is just full coverage, and I actually love the match on this one for me. So I really love both of them, and it's just about more what you're going for. I'm going to go ahead and use the Beauty Creations. I feel since it is more full coverage, it's just going to be a little bit better demonstration. Tricked you, we're not there yet. I forgot. So I'm used to just doing the demos, but we need to put on concealer. And it's not as hard as you think. So just like with your setting powder and any of the powders that we use, you want to do your concealer first. That way you're not trying to put this on top of a powder. This is just normal. I mean, think about every time I do my makeup. I'll have my foundation on, my regular liquid, then I do concealer, and if I'm going to use any creams, I use all of those creams before we use any powder. Now, I will say it's easier to apply a powder blush later and a powder bronzer. It's going to be a little bit harder. You could layer. I feel that with the Makeup Revolution one, you could layer underneath. You could do your bronzer before your creams, but just because I feel powder foundation is really about being convenient and about being easy, it's going to be easier just to grab a powder blush afterwards and a powder bronzer afterwards, which I'm going to do here. So for me, I normally don't wear a concealer, but I know a lot of us, we might have dark circles, and I would even recommend a little bit of corrector if you do, just like normal, some peach. If you want to see about color correcting, that is on my IGTV. Check that out as well. But for now, I'm going to grab my favorite concealer at the moment. This is the e.l.f. Hydrating Concealer, and that's the only place I'm going to put it. If I had a blemish, I would do that, but for right now, this powder is going to be so full coverage that I'm not going to have to really focus on putting it through the center or anything of that nature. So we'll grab our Anissa Angle Concealer Brush and work this in as usual. Connect it over here, and then with whatever's left on the brush, we'll just push that through here. Let's grab our powder foundation. I am just going to use the puff at first. If I want more coverage, we'll come back through. That's going on so smooth. And then I'm going to pick it up on the puff, and just like I do with my other puff, let's go ahead and just press it into that concealer. There's going to be no separation, no streakiness, no chaos, no screaming and crying. Well, maybe some screaming and crying, but for different reasons. Look how smooth and beautiful that is. That's the spice. Again, I'm going to grab this first. I just feel like it really just kind of applies it nice, and then we can grab the foundation brush again and press it in. If you want to continue with the coverage, you can grab a foundation brush. This one's still going to be great for even powder because it's so dense, and then we'll just take it and just build it up on the places that we really want it built up, and just really press it into this. I already did this side, and then the same on the forehead. You don't need to, who in the Sam Hick? Oh, we'll have to fix that in a second. Now we're going to bronze up the face. I'm going to grab this bronzer from Rimmel. This brush is a prototype, but stay tuned. Again, with the pressing, this looks so smooth. I'm really into these powder foundations. I feel like they're so much faster too. Same thing goes for powder foundation. If you forget you have leftover bronzer in your brush and you get a little wild, just take that and go right back over. Oh yeah. And if you're really in a hurry, I highly recommend the Makeup Revolution one and a fluffy brush. A brush like the Anissa Beauty multi-powder brush. Buff that on, you're nice and evened and ready to run out the door. Oh, and I almost forgot to mention, I do wash this every time I use it. You wash it just like you would wash a blender, a beauty blender, a makeup sponge. You can just put some soap on it, wet it. It comes perfectly clean. But I do like to wash it after every use. So these are my favorite blushes. I love them. They're from Moira Cosmetics. I have not found one of them that I don't absolutely love. Plus they look like this, and they actually stay looking like that. So amazing. So I want to look a little bit more sun-kissed today, and with these I kind of just go back and forth. And I'm going to apply this kind of really high on top of the apple of my cheek, and then across my nose. And then a little across here where the sun naturally hits. I'm going to grab a dark brown eyeshadow and just kind of relax my eye. Just for some added lift. Added a little bit more of the brown liner. Jean here. I had this exact tutorial on my Saved Highlights under Hooded Eyes tutorial. And also another question that I've been getting a whole lot even in my DMs now is if you set this, it is a powder, you do not have to set it, it sets itself. It's just a powder. The The last thing I know you're going to ask me about is setting spray. I don't recommend a setting spray with a powder foundation. The reason why is because when you go to spray that setting spray, it might lift the makeup. It might leave some splotches. So since it is a powder, it's going to really have that staying power anyways. If you want to play around with the setting spray, feel free, but I'm not going to use one because I don't want to disturb that powder. It's so much fun. It's so much fun. I'm loving the trend. Long gone are the days of the one orange shade that we were all applying. So I'm loving powder foundation